So how do you practice when every member of your band is in a different location? Sonic Prophecy? Who is that? How can you get creative with touring and maximize your impact? Does Mike Portnoy hate Mike Mangini? We're going to find out today on Behind the Kit.
This is Matt from Sonic Prophecy, and you're watching Behind the Kit.
Hello. It all started back in the day when I was just a wee lad, playing local shows on the local circuit, and I ran into Matt LeFevre. That changed everything. Hey guys, thanks for watching Behind the Kit. We've got Matt LeFevre here with Sonic Prophecy. Thanks for doing this interview, Matt.
Thank you.
I've known Matt for a while, and
We go back a couple months.
he's okay or whatever. So first question is, how did you join Sonic Prophecy?
A couple years ago, back when Sonic Prophecy released the Apocalyptic Promenade album, my first show was actually the release show for Apocalyptic. I joined the band because I had known Darren. Darren and I played in Category 5 together for a short time. And then also Shane and the rest of the band had seen me play with a band I was playing with locally called Seven King. When Jeff left the band, I was the first and I think only person they called. So that made me feel happy.
Yeah.
Made me tingle a little. So
what was the audition process like, if there was any?
there wasn't.
Okay.
They just said,
Like, oh,
they
you
just
wanna be the
called,
drummer?
they called me and said, hey, you're who we want. Can you do it? And that's
Nice.
how it worked. So
What was your first rehearsal like?
I had about less than 2 weeks with the material. You know, I had listened to the band a little bit, but I wasn't super familiar with the backlog of material. And so I spent a week or two just running through some of the backlog songs like Call of Battle and Canticle and, you know, Heavy Artillery, Juggernaut, kind of the ones that the band is known for. And showed up to the rehearsals and just nailed it. You know, after the first song, everybody, you know, they were just kind of looking at me like, that was awesome.
Nice.
They're like, you're so well prepared. And I mean, I guess that's just how I am. You know, I'm just one of those people. I obsess over my preparation and, you know, treat everything like I'm a NFL player or something.
Yeah, it's important. Tell me about how the new album is different than the last.
Well, first of all, I'm on it. So
Good call.
So yeah, actually the previous drummer Jeff wasn't on the previous album either. The drum tracks were actually hired out to a studio drummer from, I think, Finland or Norway, somewhere over in Scandinavia, and he did a great job. Sounds killer. But there wasn't a drummer that was involved in the writing process of Apocalyptic. So when I came into the band, you know, we released the Apocalyptic album. We went on the road, did several shows in support of it, and got right into writing Savage Gods. When I had started with the band, there was about 2 or 3 songs that were more or less written by Darren and Shane, which were Savage Gods, Night Terror, and Unholy Blood. Okay, those were the 3 that they had pretty much nailed down. And then they had a few other ideas beyond that, but there really wasn't much else. From there, you know, we started the process where Shane, Darren, and I, we were the principal writers of the album. The other members didn't really do much in the way of collaboration. So some of those songs were preformed ideas, you know, like those 3 I mentioned. Other songs were actually songs that I wrote, like Ironclad Heart, like Man and Machine, that were based on a drum idea. So for practicing, I use a Roland V-Session TD20 kit. It's kind of old now, but I use those MIDI drums along with my recording software, and basically I had created an entire format for the song. I mean, down to every verse, chorus, bridge, the entire map. When Darren received these raw drum tracks, it was like a light switch went off. It was something he had never tried before. We had never tried.
Yeah.
And he calls me and he goes, "Man, I don't know what it is, but it's like music is just pouring out of me." He's like, "This is kind of awesome."
Yeah.
And so that's how a few of those songs started. There were other songs where, we'd have a piece and then I'd record to that piece and, send it back, and then it would evolve. Mm-hmm. So, but actually not a single track of the album was ever jammed out in a room, which is very,
crazy.
Very foreign, because that's how I've always done things.
Yeah.
So,
how was it to adapt to all that?
It was actually quite nice, because we didn't have to have a place to do it. I would do it on my own time at my own house. And again, having the V drums is key, because let's face it, I have to be a responsible adult too. So I've got a wife, I've got 3 kids. When I can have time to sit and play drums is usually between 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning before the kids are off to school. I put my headphones on and I can just focus without any distractions. And that's key for me in the creative process. Otherwise, I struggle.
So you recently moved down to St. George, which is about 5 hours away from here in Salt Lake.
Yes.
And you guys managed to figure out a way to practice, all being in different locations. Tell me what that was like.
We've used an online platform called Jamkazam. It's come a long way. It's not perfect. So for you players out there that, it would expect to immediately plug in and have everything sync perfectly, it's not how it goes. It tends to want to update the software every time you log in. So that kind of sucks, but it also could mean they're cutting edge,
That's right.
What we found is that it's adequate. I've made sure and got my, internet speeds as fast as I can possibly get. These guys do here as well. And providing that your machine's running optimally, it has sounded like we're playing in the same room a few times, but most of the time there's a little bit of a lag. Yeah. That latency is a real killer, because we will play to a click and I'll adhere to that click no matter what anybody else is doing. Sometimes I have to just turn them down in the mix and just play from memory to keep everything together.
And is there a way to record it on that platform as well?
Yeah. There's way to add backing tracks if you want. You can record the sessions. People can listen into the sessions if you want them to.
Oh, cool. So you guys released Savage Gods in January, and you just played the album release show last night.
Yes.
When was the last time you guys were all in the same room practicing together?
Okay, so it was actually a year ago, November, and that was when we played the show with Rada Blanca over at the Complex. Mm-hmm. So that was the last time we had played together. New bass player between now and then, so it's been a while.
And you also had another guitarist, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And Sebastian left the band just recently, within the last couple of weeks.
What are your guys' plans for touring this year?
Plan is, rather than doing a, full on, play 5, 6, 7 days a week, and hitting all the Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, empty clubs. Yeah. Our strategy is to hub from Salt Lake. So we want to go and hit like Idaho one weekend, do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, drive back Sunday. And then the next week maybe we'd go to Nevada, same thing. That way, some of the guys in the band have day jobs, they've got employers, families to manage. So this way we're hoping that we're going to be able to maximize our profitability, or I guess I should say our losses, because going on the road is
that's
expensive.
What it's really like.
Yeah. We're trying to minimize that and not strain things at home.
Who are your main drum influences?
Ooh, main drum influences. So if you go clear back to the very, very beginning, I mean, it was John Bonham, Mitch Mitchell. You know, I think those two were my first icons. And then from there, you know, I branched into Mike Mangini, who was the first big rock show drummer I ever saw live, which, might I say, was awesome. My first concert, I was 15. I went to G3. So,
Nice.
And so anyway, I blame him for all of my drum addiction problems now. But yeah, so Mangini, obviously. Mike Portnoy was probably the next one. Neil, everybody loves Neil, right? Yeah. Let's see. I've also really liked guys like Dennis Chambers on the funk and jazz side of things. Peter Erskine on the jazz side. Mm-hmm. Philly Joe Jones on the jazz side. There's guys like Marco Miniman. You know, he's a monster. Thomas Lang.
So if you could take drum lessons from anybody dead or alive, who would it be?
It'd probably be Mangini. The reason is because of, I mean, his sheer mastery, his speed, his technique. You know, he boils everything down to its simplest form. Intellectually, he's a monster as well. Yeah. You know, it was him that first got me interested in polyrhythms. He was playing with Steve Vai on the Ultrazone tour back in 2000, and he did this drum solo with these polyrhythms. He's doing like a foot ostinato in 3, and you know, blinding fast. Singles with his right hand and 5 and 4 with his, and then he'd switch. It was insane. I went and saw Dream Theater on the Metropolis tour like 2 weeks later, and I met Portnoy out outside the bus.
Oh, nice.
And so I asked him, because I was trying to think of what would be like the one question I'd ask Mike Portnoy. I asked him about polyrhythms, and he said I should ask Mike Mangini. So, and I'm not kidding, it's a true story. So,
nice.
Yeah.
What is your favorite song to perform?
That's a hard one. There's some of the songs that I performed only for the first time last night. So, I really like Temple of the Sun. Very upbeat, energetic song, but there's also a lot of syncopation, a lot going on there. I have a love-hate relationship with Ironclad Heart. Yeah, last night when I was playing it, my shin muscles knotted up so bad I was done. But I love, you know, that sort of thrash speed, you know. Though I'm not, you know, the fastest guy out there, I still enjoy it. I like the physical side of it, you know.
So in regards to your shins melting,
yes.
What do you normally do for warm-up exercises?
I'll put my metronome at like 110, maybe 120, and I'll just do singles on the kicks while I do different permutations around the kit. That sort of thing, and then rudiments as well. Paradiddles, double paradiddles, paradiddle-diddles, flamadiddles, flam taps, all that sort of stuff.
So what do you do when you're at a show and you can't get behind your kit? What do you warm up with there?
See, my biggest problem last night is that instead of warming up, I was watching you. So
sorry. I mean, I was using your kit, so...
Yeah, and you made it sound very pretty, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Usually I'll try to find a spot in the back of the club, or if they have a green room, that's ideal. But I'll stretch. That's a big part of it. I'm getting old and my joints don't work like they used to. So yeah, I do a lot of stretching, and then stick exercises, you know, stretching and stick exercises. That's the main thing. Clearly I need to do more with my legs though.
Well, yeah, I don't think you did anything last night.
I've been having such cramping problems lately. It's been horrible.
What's the drum track you've written that you're most proud of?
There are different things I like about different tracks. Going back to Ironclad Heart, I know I've mentioned that a couple times now, but there's a section coming out of the bridge where there's a lot of syncopation and things going on with the kicks, and it's polyrhythmic. And so it's very, very interesting to play. At first, after I had recorded it, and then I went back and started, brushing up on the song to learn, I'm going, crap, I gotta do this. And I started rethinking and said, maybe I should suck a little more when I'm doing my recordings.
Mike Portnoy talks about that on Dance of Eternity when they were writing that.
Yes.
And like writing it is one thing, performing it in its entirety is another.
Another one is on Man and Machine. During the chorus, I'm doing these offbeat accents on the splashes or trash hat or whatever you want to call it, stack, and it's a really atypical feel, and I can't take all the credit for it because actually when I had first recorded it, Darren took my drum part and he shifted it like 2 beats. So it actually flipped it on its head. And then once we listened back, I heard it. I'm like, hey, that's not what I did. But then as we listened to it, we're like, that's actually really cool. Nice. So then it kind of became a happy accident in that way. And so that's something I really like listening to it because it was a way for Darren and I as artists or individuals to collaborate on that one little drum part. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it was an accident that he shifted it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was an accident that he shifted it, but he had recorded these guitars to it, as we were writing. Yeah. And it sounded better. Nice. With it that way. And so instead of all of the accents being on the downbeat, it put them on the upbeat. Yeah. And so I'm like, wow, I didn't think of that, but it's actually very cool. And then, I had to learn how to play it that way.
Are there any up-and-coming drummers that you've seen that are killing it?
Besides you?
Anybody else?
Up-and-coming drummers. That's a hard one. Most of them piss me off, honestly.
So good, or?
Yes. There's nothing I love more. By love, I mean hate.
Right.
Going on YouTube and you see 9-year-old kid, best drummer ever. And I'm like, crap, he's way better than me.
Well, yeah. Every
time
I've
only spent decades working on this, and you got it in a year. Okay, awesome for you.
There's that video of Tony Royster Jr. when he was 9 or something.
I hate that video so much.
It's the same thing. It's like he was way better than me back when he was 9 than I am right now.
Yeah, to grow up in this time as a musician is it's like the golden era because they have so much information. Yeah. I mean, when I was learning drums, I had to be a self-starter because I after I moved away from Las Vegas, that's where I was born and raised, I moved to a small town in the southern part of Utah, and there weren't drum teachers. you know. So anything I learned, I had to go out and find. I was finding books. I was finding VHS. I have VHS tapes of, Mike Portnoy,
with his purple drumsticks and
purple.
spandex.
Yep. I have all these VHS tapes and things, and that's where I was learning a lot of my technique and through books and all of this stuff. And now, these kids, they can go online. Yep. And they can learn the most efficient and effective techniques right from the very beginning. They don't have to play for 25 years. Yeah,
or happen to stumble across.
Yeah, and then try to retrain their muscles after decades of practice. You're trying to retrain your muscle to a more effective technique. And chances are, by the time they're our age, it will have evolved again, and they're going to be in the same position.
Yeah. What do you think your biggest accomplishment has been?
A couple years ago, back in 2009, I think it was. I was asked to do some recordings for Disney. They were in production with the Cars 2 movie, and we were asked to come in and do gameplay music for the video game. So I was working with a producer named Chuck Myers through Big Idea Studios, and he had a contract through Disney Interactive for the game. And so he brought us in, us meaning myself, Ron, who's now the bass player in Sonic, a guy named Eric Anthony, Ryan Shoup and the Rubber Band, a couple of the guys from his group all came in. We did sort of this bluegrass, southern rock, rockabilly jam, and that became a good chunk of the gameplay music on the video game. So if you've ever played the game, you've heard me play there.
So how do you take rudiments that you practice and incorporate those into a song? And give me a song that you can think of maybe that has that.
The first rudiments that come to my head are my favorites, which are Paradiddle Diddle, Swiss Army Triplets. And my reason is because of their versatility around the kit. As a right-handed player, you know, they're rudiments that repeat right-handed, so it's easy to move from right to left. And then I also really like the Paradiddle Diddle for groove-oriented, you know, kind of shuffle grooves with a lot of ghosting and that sort of thing. Because you can get a deep swing, you know, it just sounds really thick using that particular pattern. It's very, you know, triplet oriented because of a grouping of 6. Mm-hmm. First one that comes to my mind is actually a kick pattern, and it's on Night Terror, okay, which is the single. We shot a video for it, and on
link in the description.
During the second verse, you'll hear the kicks do a quick triplet. You'll hear that triplet come at the end of each phrase. That's how I executed that, was with a paradiddle.
Okay, cool. What kind of sticks do you use?
Junk.
Tell me about your double bass technique. You heel up,
Okay.
heel toe.
I am heel up on double bass. I have used heel down, but only in very certain circumstances, like if I want to play dynamically. But generally speaking, when you're doing double bass, you're not playing dynamically.
Right.
So yeah, heel up. I'll sometimes use doubles, but not very often, as far as just straight double kick patterns go.
Okay. What's maybe a rudiment or an exercise that you wish you knew 20 years ago?
Well, I wish I would have started working on, you know, some of these techniques. You know, I mentioned before the push-pull and finger techniques. You know, it's only been the last 4 or 5 years that I've really started to work, and I work them hard. And you know, I would have liked to have started on that a long time ago, because I can see their use. It took me a while to learn how to play in the pocket, like to play a groove. And I know, you know, I'm in a metal band and there's not a lot of that in metal, but when I do play in a situation where there's a groove, it's one of those things that, you know, it's like a state of mind more than it is a technique. You know, it's that laying back on the click to the point where it's almost late but not quite. That would have been something I would have liked to have figured out a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But I think it's sort of one of those things that takes a certain amount of experience to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, nobody's born in the pocket.
Nobody's born in the pocket. Yeah, so it'd have been nice to have been born in the pocket.
Maybe Tony Williams.
Yeah, maybe.
What is your favorite thing on your kit currently?
My auxiliary hats. Because you played my kit last night, you became acquainted with them.
Indeed.
I play soul tone cymbals, have been since 2008, 2009. And what my auxiliary hat is a 12-inch extreme top hat with a 14-inch extreme china. So the hats have an incredible amount of wash and grit in the sound. and they're very responsive and quick. I really like it. I like having it on the right side of my kit. Also for, double bass parts, it's nice to have the flexibility to not be cross stick and to be open-handed.
Do you prefer being in the studio or touring or both?
They both have their merits. I love the creative aspect of music. I aside from playing drums, I also play piano. Like, I can sit down and just jam on the piano, and I would do, and I will. I'll just sit there and play for an hour.
Nice.
So I enjoy that part of it, but nothing beats live. Now, if I could just do the live and not have to do all of the work that happens before and after, I think that would be what I would choose. I have this love-hate relationship with hauling my gear around. I have 3 drum kits for a reason. Yeah. And it's because, when I've had rehearsal places to go to, I keep one there. I have one at home to practice. I have another one to put at that place. Yeah. I hate I hate moving this stuff around. So, and I don't see roadies in my future. So
Not for a while. Not for a while.
Yeah.
Cool, Matt. Well, thanks so much for doing the interview with me. Everybody check out Sonic Prophecy's new album, Savage Gods, or You Will Die. Yeah. Huge shout out to Matt LeFevre for that interview. It was such a great time for me. Unfortunately, most of the footage that I filmed during the show didn't work out. It was just too dark. But hope you guys enjoyed the interview. I'll link Matt's stuff below, as well as Sonic Prophecy. Make sure you check him out for some awesome metal.